Hi, and welcome to the Inspired Podcast. I'm your host, Andrea De La Cerda, and each week I'm bringing you the latest discussions and news about changes in the landscape of education and entrepreneurship. As a 22-year entrepreneur, corporate executive, business coach, and leader, I mentor a community of change-making men and women to get out of their box and step into their true calling to make the biggest impact in the world. This podcast is all about empowering us, navigating life's twists and turns, and stepping into the fullest version of who we're meant to be. I want to start today with a story that still makes my stomach drop a little bit every time I think about it. Years ago, while I was working in the corporate world, I was just getting started, I pitched what I believed was the opportunity of a lifetime. I had poured months into preparing, researching, refining, rehearsing until I could deliver that presentation in my sleep. I believed in it with every fiber of my being. This partnership felt like the thing that would put me on the perfect path to that promotion that I wanted. I walked into that room confident. 45 minutes later, I walked out with a polite but unmistakable no thank you. And not just any no. It's the kind that sort of knocks the wind out of you, right? The kind that feels personal. It kind of makes you question your vision, your talent, and honestly, your worth. I sat in my car for 20 minutes afterward, staring out the window, feeling defeated. Have you ever done this before? I sat there replaying every second of that meeting, every single thing I said, wondering what I could have said differently or done differently. Have you ever been there? That moment when a rejection, it doesn't just sting, but it sticks. It feels like proof that maybe you're not cut out for the thing you've been dreaming about. So if you can relate, you're not alone and you're absolutely in the right place, because today we're talking about something every single ambitious person faces, but most of us were never taught how to navigate rejection. And more importantly, how to transform it from something that shuts you down into something that builds you back up. So let's start by understanding what's actually happening in our brains when we face rejection, because there's real science behind why it hits so hard. When we experience rejection, our brains literally register it as physical pain. Neuroimaging studies from UCLA show that the same regions of the brain that activate when we experience physical injury also light up during emotional rejection. But here's what makes it even more challenging. Because rejection triggers what psychologists call a dopamine crash. When we're anticipating something positive, like that yes we were hoping for, our brains release dopamine in anticipation. And then when we get rejected instead, that dopamine plummets, leaving us not just disappointed, but biochemically depleted. Add to that our brain's negativity bias, the evolutionary wiring that makes us focus more intensely on threats and negative experiences than positive ones. And you have a perfect storm for why rejection can derail our motivation so completely. But here's what's fascinating. The most successful people aren't those who face less rejection. They're the ones who've learned how to process it differently. A study from the Harvard Business Review analyzed over 200 entrepreneurs and found that those who ultimately succeeded had failed an average of 3.8 times before their breakthrough. The difference wasn't talent or luck. It was their relationship with setbacks. Research from psychologist Angela Duckworth shows that grit, the combination of passion and perseverance toward long-term goals, is a better predictor of success than talent, IQ, or even socioeconomic background. And grit, as it turns out, is largely about how we respond to rejection and failure. So the question isn't whether you'll face rejection, it's how you'll choose to let it shape you. And now I know what you're thinking. Here comes the part where I tell you that rejection is just redirection, or everything happens for a reason, right? And look, we've all heard these platitudes, and honestly, they used to make me want to throw something, because when you're in the thick of disappointment, being told that rejection is a gift feels about as helpful as being told to just think positive when you're grieving. But here's what I want to offer instead. What if rejection isn't redirection, but information? What if instead of asking, why is this happening to me, we started asking, what is this experience here to teach me? That shift from being a victim to being a student changes everything. Dr. Carol Dweck's research on mindset shows that people with a growth mindset, or those who view challenges as opportunities to learn rather than threats to their identity, are significantly more resilient in the face of setbacks. They don't just bounce back faster, they often emerge stronger. That doesn't mean rejection doesn't hurt, obviously, it does. But it does mean we get to choose what we make it mean. So how do we practically rebuild motivation after rejection? Just like in all other areas of business, I like to use data-informed strategies. So let's explore 5 ways we can make moves in the right direction. So first, celebrate small wins. And I have said this before in this podcast in many ways. This is so important. It's not uncommon for us to save celebration for big victories, but neuroscience actually shows us that acknowledging small wins releases dopamine, which not only feels good, but actually enhances our motivation and focus for future tasks. This isn't about participation trophies or false positivity, I might add. It's about training your brain to recognize progress, not just perfection. Try keeping a wins journal where you note 3 things that went well each day, no matter how small. Sent that difficult email, maybe? Win. Had a productive conversation with a mentor? Win. Maybe learned something new from a podcast? Also a win. This practice literally rewires your brain to notice progress rather than just problems. And your second strategy, limit comparison. Social media makes it easier than ever to compare our behind-the-scenes struggles with everyone else's highlight reels. But comparison is particularly toxic when we're already vulnerable from rejection. A study from the University of Pennsylvania found that limiting social media use to 30 minutes per day for just 1 week significantly reduced loneliness and depression while increasing well-being. When you're rebuilding motivation, be ruthless about protecting your mental environment. Unfollow accounts that cause you to fall into a trap of comparison and choose inputs that inspire rather than intimidate. And another important reminder, someone else's success isn't evidence of your failure. Their timing isn't your timing. Their path isn't your path. And the third strategy, revisit your why. When rejection shakes our confidence, it's easy to lose sight of why we started in the first place. But research from psychologist Tim Kasser shows that intrinsic motivation, pursuing goals that align with our core values, leads to greater persistence and satisfaction than extrinsic motivation like money or status. It's so important to schedule time to reconnect with your deeper purpose. Why does this goal matter to you so much? And how will achieving it allow you to serve others or express your values in the world? What impact do you want to make that goes beyond personal success? For me, remembering that my work helps other people step into their power kept me going when the path felt rocky. So what is that inner light for you? And the fourth strategy, create micro goals. When facing rejection, our dreams can suddenly feel impossibly far away. The key is breaking them down into actions so small they feel almost silly not to do. Research from MIT shows that people who break large goals into smaller, specific sub-goals are 2.5 times more likely to achieve them. A colleague of mine was rejected from her dream graduate program. Instead of wallowing for 6 months, she set micro goals. Research 1 alternative program each day, improve 1 section of her application each week, connect with 1 current student in her field monthly. By the time applications opened the following year, she wasn't just emotionally ready. She was strategically prepared. She got into her second choice school and was even awarded a scholarship opportunity. Setting micro goals can feel overwhelming when you're not sure where to begin. That's exactly why I created my free Goal Getters Guide. It's a simple, powerful resource to help you clear, get focused, and start taking aligned action right away. If you're interested, there are details in the episode notes. And then finally, surround yourself with support. Perhaps most importantly, rejection reminds us that we were never meant to pursue our dreams alone. Research consistently shows that social support is one of the strongest predictors of resilience. But not all support is created equal. So be careful. You need people who can hold space for both your disappointment and your dreams. People who won't try to fix you or minimize your feelings, but who will remind you of your strengths when you cannot see them for yourself. Create a springboard of 3 to 5 people in your life who genuinely believe in your potential and aren't afraid to remind you of it when you forget. We aren't looking for just cheerleaders, but truth tellers who can offer perspective, accountability, and encouragement when your own reserves are really low. Here's something that's crucial to understand. Resilience isn't about being tough. It's not about pushing through pain or pretending rejection doesn't affect you. Real resistance is about adaptability combined with self-compassion. Dr. Kristen Neff's research on self-compassion shows that people who treat themselves with kindness during difficult times, rather than harsh self-criticism, recover from setbacks faster and are more likely to take productive action toward their goals. So think of resilience like building muscle. You don't get stronger by avoiding weights. You get stronger by gradually increasing the challenge while allowing time for recovery. The same is true for emotional resilience. Research from the American Psychological Association identifies several key factors of resilience, including accepting that change is part of life, setting realistic goals and taking decisive action, looking for opportunities for self-discovery after experiencing loss, and developing confidence in your ability to solve problems. Resilience follows a predictable cycle: disruption, exploration, and integration. And first, we experience the shock of rejection or setback. And then we explore new possibilities and perspectives. And finally, we integrate what we've learned into a stronger version of ourselves. But the key is not to rush this process. A study from the University of California, Berkeley, found that people who allowed themselves to fully process difficult emotions rather than immediately trying to move on showed greater emotional regulation and problem-solving abilities in the long term. So normalize the cycle. Rest, reflect, rise. Give yourself permission to feel disappointed. Take time to process what happened and what you learned. And then when you're ready, and only when you're ready, take the next small step forward. Before we wrap up today, I want to leave you with something simple and powerful you can do right now. Find a quiet spot, grab your journal, and spend a few minutes with this prompt. What rejection or roadblock am I still holding on to? And how can I shift the story I'm telling myself about it? And maybe it's a job that slipped through your fingers, a relationship that ended before you were ready, a project that got sidelined, or a dream that just hasn't come to life yet. So what if that no wasn't a sign that you're not good enough, but a nudge towards something that's actually more aligned? Let yourself write and be honest. Let it be messy if it needs to be messy. Feel what comes up without judgment. And when you're ready, ask yourself, what is this experience here to teach me? And what new path might be opening now that this one has closed? Sometimes the greatest clarity comes not from pushing through, but from pausing to rewrite the story we're telling ourselves. I'd love to hear what insights come up from you. Share your story with me on Instagram or send me an email at team@kandulacommunications.com. Sometimes the simple act of sharing our struggles takes away their power to shame us. And if you're looking for more support in building resilience and reframing challenges, download my free 5-minute mental health tracker. It's a simple tool to help you just check in with yourself daily and build the self-awareness that makes resilience possible. You can find that information in the episode notes. And before you go, I want you to remember that you're not behind, you're not broken, you're building. Every rejection, every setback, every time life doesn't go according to plan, it's all part of constructing the person you're becoming. The strongest buildings aren't built on smooth ground. They're built on ground that's been excavated, reinforced, and carefully prepared. You don't need relentless motivation. You don't need to pretend rejection doesn't hurt. You just need a willingness to begin again, to ask better questions, to trust that every no is bringing you closer to the right yes. Your dreams are not too big. Your timeline isn't too slow. Your journey isn't wrong. It's just because it doesn't look like someone else's. So keep going. The world needs what you have to offer, even if, and especially if, not everyone recognizes it yet. Thank you for sharing this time with me today. Please don't forget to like and follow so you never miss an episode drop. Until then, be kind to yourself. You're doing better than you think. I'll see you back here next week. Take care.